typewriters, and I think typewriters are awesome because they provide a unique perspective into past technology and how, if they're taken care of well, they can survive over 70 years.
Wow, that's impressive. Impressive. Makes me now wish I would have hung on to some of the ones I had way back when. I can remember, of course, you don't know this, but you take computer classes and all. We took typing classes where you sat and everybody had a big typewriter at your desk. So I remember that, and they are definitely solid. So you kind of hinted on this. How long have you been collecting?
Well, I've been collecting for about a year and a half, but I've actually been selling them for 4. But
Okay.
began to start my personal collection about a year and a half ago.
Wow. Wow. And you were telling me some of the places you source them. It sounds like pretty much everywhere you go to look for them. Do you have a favorite way to source them?
Honestly, I just like going around to different consignment shops and yard sales and kind of seeing what you can find, because a lot of times you'll just see them in a case and a lot of people don't know what they are until you open them, and then they're normally priced pretty cheap, so it works out.
Wow. Then it's a big surprise. Opening the case. So you're like me. I love seeking. I like to find stuff. I like that. To me is one of the most exciting parts is going out and searching for it.
Yeah.
So you said you have a good collection started. Do you have a grail? Do you have that one piece that you just hope one day you come across?
So there's one of my, I would say probably one of my first, I think, 5 typewriters. It was called the an Olivetti, and I actually sold it to a typewriter company located down in New York, and I believe it's the oldest typewriter company in the country that's still surviving. And it was just a really beautiful piece, and I kind of wish I kept it for my personal collection instead of selling it.
So you're hoping to come across another one of those someday, huh?
Yeah, hopefully.
Did you take any pictures of it? Do you have images of it?
Yeah, I believe I have some still of it.
I'll have to get you to see if you can come up with some of the images of some of these so I can edit them into this video and pop them up. People can see them because I want to see them too. I'm very curious. So do you have a favorite brand? One that you find you like more than others, or?
Yeah, well, I really like the Smith and Corona. I feel like they really, a lot of times they have really solid builds, and along with that, I really like Olivetti's too. I've only sold one, but they have a lot of really different, beautiful typewriters.
I'm gonna have to look that up because I haven't heard of that company. So now you've got me very curious, very, very curious. So in your collecting and your journeys going out and looking for things, do you have any surprising moments that you think would be fun to share, or even funny moments that happened while you were out sourcing items?
Yeah, well, I would say one of the most surprising moments to me was really when I bought my first typewriter, even though it was compared to some of the typewriters I sold after it, it wasn't that big. But for me, buying that first typewriter and nobody else seemed to want it, and I was able to get it, I think, for $5. And it was just really beautiful. And I remember that moment, being able to get it
Wow.
was really nice.
That really got you rolling, I'm sure. I'm
Hmm.
sure. So your mom, we were actually talking about this with your grandmother earlier, about going to auctions. I am very intimidated by this whole idea. I've never been to one. Do you go to them or have been to them? And your mom had told me before that your grandmother actually got her into going to them, and an appreciation for antiques and older items. But tell me, for somebody who's never been, I actually saw an ad for one here locally this week and thought, oh gosh, I need Libby to come down and go with me because I'm too intimidated to go on my own. Anything you would share about auctions, about that experience, going your first time?
Yeah, well, I would say something that's really important for an auction is you have to set a price point when you're bidding on something. You have to know exactly what you're willing to go up to and where you're gonna stop your bidding, because a lot of times when the numbers keep rising and let's say you really want something, you may get caught up in the bidding, obviously, and end up paying too much for it. So I would say just be careful with how much you're spending. Um, and yeah. Also, I would say before they put it up for auction, I would say don't show too much interest in it either. just so you don't draw too much attention to the item.
Ah, a little poker face there. Okay. Playing a little poker. I like that. Well, this is good to know because your mother would vouch for this. I'd be the one that would just be like, no, I'm going to win this. It's going to be mine. And the next thing you know, I'm paying the amount of 4 just because I wanted to win it. So that's very good advice. Very good advice. Tell me a little bit about Avery. What are 3 things that you think people should know about you?
Yeah, so I really like reselling older goods, anything that I can kind of find for a lower value and be able to sell, with a few X profit. I also like collecting things with history, and that's why I like typewriters, because a typewriter can tell so much about a time period, such as like the 1930s. You can see how much bulkier the designs are, and more stationary they are. And then in the 40s, you had a shift to portability. And the last thing I have to say, and the last thing is, I just generally kind of have a passion for technology, and stuff like that, like 3D printing.
Oh, do you do 3D printing?
Hmm.
Very cool. Very cool. Again, that's something that intimidates me, but I think it's so amazing. The technology in that is so amazing. All right. So I got one more question before we wrap this up, and I really appreciate your time. For any other young collectors, young people here that maybe have an interest in this and are thinking, maybe this is something I want to get into. Maybe I want to collect. Maybe I want to get into the resale world or the antique world. Do you have any advice or tips or suggestions for somebody who's a younger person thinking, or maybe not even younger? I just think it's impressive at your age that you've done so much and you have such knowledge in it. So it doesn't even have to be younger people, but any advice you'd give somebody who's contemplating getting into this?
Yeah, so I would say definitely start with going to yard sales and consignment places and looking at some of the older antique products that you are going to commonly see and kind of learn a little bit more about them. Maybe develop an interest on something more specific that you're interested about and look for these type of products. In my case, that was a typewriter. But a lot of times, if you spend enough time researching these products, you'll be able to find them priced much lower than resale value because a lot of people really don't know what they are. So I would say you just have to look around and you have to do a lot of research on different things that you're going to find along the way.
That's great advice. Great advice. So you guys can find Avery antique items in the Conchi Consignment online store. In fact, I saw you just listed one this past week and boom, it sold right away. And I was like, wow. So I know you're probably always on the search for more inventory. So that'll be ever changing. So you guys go to conchiconsignment.com and there's actually a separate section there in the menu drop down that is Avery's Antiques. He also has a page on the Conchi Consignment, a board on our Pinterest. So you can go there and see all of his items there. And I believe there's even some of the items that have sold, but you can see some of the history of his collection and things he's had. So Avery, I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you always have so much on your plate with all the things your mom tells me you're into, but I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing this with us. And I love that you're part of the family business.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great one.
You too.